The digital economy operates on a network logic. The linear supply chains of the industrial era are overwritten by multi-directional, interconnected data flows. In this environment, new ventures consistently make a specific, damaging calculation. They assume that purchasing digital tools, whether cloud software or generative AI, automatically generates a competitive advantage. Empirical data tells a different story. Tracking startup and MSME performance globally reveals that, on its own, raw digital adoption frequently fails to improve business sustainability or revenue. This discrepancy exposes a flaw in how we view technology. Software is an inert input. Adopting it does nothing on its own. It requires an architectural approach rather than a simple purchasing strategy. Digital transformation is a structural mediation process. It relies on a firm's internal capabilities, the geometry of its business model, and its position within external ecosystems. By analyzing multivariate data and global case studies, we can now map the exact causal architecture of successful digital entrepreneurship. In a mature digital economy, the entrepreneur's primary job is to engineer the human and structural pathways that convert raw data into economic value. This diagram illustrates the core problem. We have raw digital inputs on the left and business outcomes on the right. Between them lies an empty space. Bridging this gap requires statistical mediation. In data modeling, mediation occurs when a cause must pass through an intermediary variable to create an effect. If we look at empirical data from millennial startups, we see a high rate of cyberlearning, the acquisition of digital skills through social networks. But as the graph shows, learning alone fails to reach business outcomes. The link breaks. The data reveals that cyberlearning is necessary but insufficient. It only connects to performance when the firm routes that knowledge through highly specific operational behaviors. The exact variables that bridge this gap are agile teamwork and marketing capability. When technical knowledge passes through agile, collaborative human teams, the link to business performance completes. This constraint extends beyond tech startups. We see the same requirement when traditional heavy industries like manufacturing attempt to digitize. Structural equation modeling of Chinese manufacturing SMEs demonstrates that a digital strategy yields negligible sustainability benefits without a specialized culture to moderate it. That specialized digital culture is defined by baseline data literacy, organizational flexibility, and a high tolerance for iterative failure. When leadership commits to this data-centric culture, the metrics shift. The firm begins recording quantifiable improvements in revenue growth and new product launches. Technology possesses no independent agency. It requires a specific, agile human translation layer to function as an economic engine. An agile culture solves the human variable, but it must eventually alter the operational geometry of the firm. This requires digital business model innovation. This standard business model canvas shows exactly where a firm pivots from a pipeline to a platform logic. If we analyze platform-based agricultural social enterprises in Africa, we can identify the specific quadrants that undergo the most extreme restructuring. The value proposition is the first point of disruption. The enterprise stops selling purely physical goods and begins offering data-centric, digitized services. This forces a change in core activities. Linear models are replaced by multi-sided platform integration, where the business acts as a central hub connecting user groups. Consequently, core resources are redefined. Physical assets lose priority to big data capabilities, digitized storage, and algorithmic analytics. This framework applies across sectors. The restaurant aggregator Zomato followed an identical structural pivot, proving the universality of this model. Zomato reconstructed its value network, transitioning from a simple directory into a co-creation ecosystem that links restaurants, delivery drivers, and consumers. Big data capability drives this entire network. By processing raw consumer behavior, the platform generates the analytics necessary to secure a competitive advantage. A digital platform provides the technical chassis, but scaling that platform requires shifting the underlying geometry of the business model. The classical model of entrepreneurship centers on a solitary founder gathering local, physical resources. Digital economics renders that model obsolete. Modern digital agency relies on a networked behavior known as distributed bricolage. Distributed bricolage is the ability to collaboratively design, rapidly produce, and share resources across decentralized global networks. We saw empirical proof of this during the rapid response to COVID-19, where digital affordances allowed geographically isolated actors to pool resources and act collectively. This external network theory explains the mechanism through which traditional, non-tech SMEs navigate the transition to digital. Legacy businesses rarely succeed by building internal R&D departments. Instead, they achieve digital transformation through open innovation partnerships with existing digital startups. The exchange is efficient. Startups gain capital and market access, while SMEs acquire advanced digital capabilities without having to build them from scratch. Sustaining these networks requires dedicated infrastructure, which is why regional digital innovation hubs have become critical nodes for enterprise transformation. At the global level, transnational e-platforms allow immigrant entrepreneurs to leverage dual ecosystems, operating simultaneously in host and home countries to source unique advantages. Digital networks also neutralize geographic isolation. Remote startups use digitized external knowledge tools, like patent databases, to improve the quality and impact of their inventions. In resource-constrained contexts, such as rural Oman, women entrepreneurs utilize these mobile tech networks to assert economic agency and sustain new ventures. In the digital era, the boundaries of the furl remain porous. Attempting to operate in isolation is no longer a strategic choice. It is a structural failure. This completed causal graph shows the full architecture we have mapped. Digital inputs flow through an internal agile culture, restructure via business model innovation, expand into the ecosystem network, and arrive at business outcomes. Empirical data suggests that the strength of this architecture depends on the integrity of each mediating node. Bypassing a mediator, such as agile culture, weakens the chain between digital adoption and performance. Now, a frontier disruption threatens to destabilize this map: the integration of generative AI into the entrepreneurial stack. Delegating critical logic to AI introduces systemic risks, including algorithmic exclusion, bias, and reliance on monopolistic external platforms. Securing the system against these risks requires a final structural constraint: epistemic stewardship. Epistemic stewardship is a hybrid governance model that mandates collaboration between responsible human reasoning and raw algorithmic intelligence. This governance is critical for social entrepreneurship and ventures in emerging economies, where regulatory environments offer little protection against digital marginalization. Pure automation creates efficiency, but it can also reduce resilience. Ethical oversight and context-sensitive adaptation provide the anchor for the value chain. The digital economy does not reward the firm that merely possesses the most advanced technology. Sustainable competitive advantage belongs to those who architect resilient, culturally agile, and networked systems to support that technology.